Right, welcome back to the MMA Creators Podcast, episode 25. I'm Leo Cooper MMA, joined by myself and Will from Casuals Corner, Instagram, YouTube, every platform imaginable. Yeah, let's get stuck into it. I mean, we can talk about the UFC Fight Night in a little bit, but as I was just saying before we did that intro, you said you went to an event at the O2 Indigo, which is a staple of the regional scene. Can you fill us, me and everyone else in on what that was?
So I said to you last week, I said to myself last week, I've been way too reactive of recent. And what happens when I get into lulls, and I feel like I've been in a lull, honestly, a lull for the last
I
4
know
to
what you mean.
6 weeks
Yeah,
minimum.
you said that.
Minimum. But I was making sure that I was still getting the base level of workout and just doing enough. I was just always doing enough, like I said. So I told you I was going to change that, and I was sort of climbing out of that. So I've done a little bit of research to see what shows were going on across the country. I was thinking, right, I need to get out there more, need to get to more shows, need to get my face into more organisations, do more work, do more partnerships. And then I was just looking through Sherdog, and Sherdog have an incredible page where they name and list pretty much all the MMA shows around the world, really. It's kind of cool. So obviously looked for the one in England, and then I saw one that came up, HFL. Hadn't heard of it, so I researched it because it was at the O2. Very convenient for me to get to, by the way. So researched
Mm-hmm.
it, and it turns out to be Hitman Fight League, which is a Muay Thai show,
Yeah.
which I then found out is Liam Harrison's show. So I dropped them a message on Instagram, bearing in mind that this is Friday late afternoon, and the event was at 2 p.m. the next day. I was not thinking much of it. Dropped them a message on Instagram, reached out to them, said I'd love to do a little bit of work for the show and whatnot. They got back to me, ended up going there the next day. And before I get into the whole day, I guess, you said that you knew about this. So how did you,
Yeah,
because I'd never heard of it.
No, neither had I. But literally probably about the same time. Because Friday evening, I was out for dinner with my family, and my mum was talking about one of her friends or something had a spare ticket to some sort of she said it was some sort of MMA show at the O2. I was like, oh, what is it? And she gave me the name of it. And then I started, it's a Muay Thai event. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. But I was like, it's a bit short notice, and I've got other stuff I need to do. And I was like, and I didn't know you were going. And then I saw on your Instagram you posted you were there the next day. I was like, that is the weirdest coincidence. Because who knows? I would have maybe if I ended up going, that would have been a weird little
That is a strange
what's the phrase?
coincidence.
I don't
So
know.
your
Very
mum
strange,
knew
isn't it?
someone with a Muay Thai ticket,
Somehow, yeah, I don't know, man.
bro.
Weird, but happened
It
to be
was
the
a really
same obscure regional Muay Thai promotion. Weird, isn't it?
well.
But,
This is the thing, because I guess it's not so regional, because obviously Liam Harrison is as big as it gets,
well, yeah,
8-time
of
world
course, yeah.
champion. So I guess you put his name to it, and then anything's going
Has
to
more
have more of
eyes.
a draw. But the whole day and event was actually really well ran. I didn't quite expect it to be as smooth and as well produced as it was. It was at the Indigo O2. Everything was set up. Everyone knew what they were doing. And then I got there, and I knew with that sort of. So I'll just take you through the whole event. So I rock up. I
Go
get
for
to
it.
the door, and because it's at the O2, and I've been there with Cage Warriors many times. I know the sort of vibe,
You know
and
the drill.
I said that to the fella. I said, if it's set up the same, just dropping these things to make someone make an easier decision. That's well and truly it. So when I reached out, I thought, even if I were to mention that, obviously I know how those shows are ran at that particular thing. By saying, oh, is it ran the same as this? Just because then I'll know where everything is. Because then you don't need an introduction, you don't need to be explained. And
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
makes it a little bit less friction for the person involved. So that's just a little side note on that. But anyway, rock up, this fella meets me at the door who has the most what's the word? Inviting. The most
Unbelievable.
uninviting
Uninviting. Okay.
look you could ever see, sort of, because my name got put behind there. Anyway, it wasn't on the list or whatnot, but I managed to sort it. This geezer had a face like a smacked ass. Got behind, then started meeting the rest of the team. They were super nice. Obviously, Liam Harrison, Andy, the fella who ran the show. And then he showed me around where everything was, and I knew at that point then I was going to be able to get quite close to the action, because I wanted to get up close and personal and sort of push my luck with how far I could just get in and take some photos and whatnot. Because the first few events I went to when I first started covering events, you're nervous, you don't really know what you're doing, where you are.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
sort of, it's a little
Like
bit of a
me.
dicey moment. I done so many before I even braved trying to walk a little bit closer, and so then I managed to sort of get on the stage and speak to a few people who own it. And then I spoke to the man that I had a chat to on Instagram, and he said, "Oh, like full access, so you can just go where you want." So I was like, right, touch. Now I can get a bit up close. And I was in the ring. I was like, if you watch back the event, I'm literally in the ring with my phone. Because because it's so different. That's what I enjoy. Because they have the ropes and it's a ring. You can get the
Yeah.
camera on a real nice tight angle to the action, and it just has this real authentic feel to it. And that's really what I wanted to go to a Muay Thai show for, or even a boxing show possibly, just for that. So I went there, and then obviously I'm waffling a little bit, but then they had food for us as well. I did not expect this, but they fully catered it with a Thai restaurant from not
Oh
far from
my
actually where I
God.
live, weirdly enough. Yeah, so in the back they had all the food from the Thai restaurant, the guys cooking it in the kitchen, and a buffet for all the staff and VIPs and whatnot. And then in the front of where all the people watching were, they had the restaurant where they were selling sort of buffet items, and you sort of made your own plate. And it was actually a really good vibe. So they had a really nice sort of bit of food. They had the Thai music, and then they had the fights right at the front. And it was a really good event, actually. I really enjoyed it. And I was at one point serving beef crapau to Liam Harrison. And I thought, this is a bit of a weird evening. I wasn't really meant to be, I wasn't
Standard
really,
procedure, right?
yeah, it was kind of weird.
And
I
that's
just
the thing
ended,
is that's a case of, as you said, breaking out of that lull and that sort of autopilot
mm,
mode. Do you know what I mean? Just taking that initiative, which I think we could all do a little bit better. Something I definitely need to improve on, because I know what you mean. You're sort of getting in that. I don't want to call it's not even a comfort zone. It's just I still call it a
just a rut,
discomfort.
just like a rut.
Yeah, it's just not fun. But it's so hard to get yourself out of it because you're stuck in a sort of cyclical weak sort of thing. So getting out of that is such a difficult thing to do. But I think it's something we could all
I,
give a
I
crack
think
and
for me
learn from.
personally, because it does happen, for me personally, what I know helps me is assessing my habits, assessing what habits I've fallen into, good or bad, because realistically, that's
Yeah,
going to reflect the outcome of just my days. So I start looking at my sleep. I start looking at my exercise. Have I been going out enough? Have I been getting enough sun exposure? Have I been walking enough? Have I been lifting, getting a sweat on? Have I been doing these things? Have I been getting enough nutrition, water, getting enough sleep, different things like that, small things like that. And then I start building off that to work, and then start making better work habits. And then slowly but surely, doing
piece
the
by
harder
piece.
things just becomes a little bit easier. And it did remind me of Tom Aspin. I'm not going to lie, because I'm sitting there on Saturday. The weather's horrible. The weather's absolutely horrible. I've got a ton of work to do. And the UFC started quite early. And there was every part of me that was just sort of saying, you know what, just sort of sit your desk, do a bit of work, and don't have to go to that. It's cold, it's miserable, it's dark outside, it's just horrible. And I thought, he said the other day, it was like, you do not win that belt sitting on your sofa. And you just don't get opportunities sitting on your sofa
Yeah,
physically.
very
You just
true.
don't. You have to just, uh,
Do
sometimes, yeah, you just got to get in front of it. You just have to get in front of it. You have
exactly.
to just get to the events. You have to meet these people, shake those hands, put names to faces, and you just have to just keep chipping away at it. And I'm going on a whole tangent here, but I started walking in the podcast studio today, and I thought, of all we've spoke about many times on the podcast, many times, I think for both of us now, it, it's definitely cool, and it's definitely, we should feel appreciative that we can look at what we do and the opportunities that we get, and call it a job. And you look at the things that are happening for us both now, and even collectively as a podcast now, which is kind of cool. It's those things that we always spoke about, it's traveling the world, it's podcast studios, it's monetizing, it's being able to
Yeah.
be financially free, all these different things, meeting these
It's just
people,
steps
seeing these
towards that.
things up close. Exactly. It's just the smaller steps. And I feel like now you can sort of see things changing in the right direction a little bit better. But anyway, way off topic. Where should we
No,
go
it's
from
not a
that?
topic.
Get into the
It's not
fights?
a topic at all.
No, I just
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know
we
how
can. I mean,
to.
just before we get into that, like, I mean, because obviously that's just in your week. I just think personally from, from
Sorry, I
my
didn't
point of
mean to
view,
be
like,
like, yeah, let's
no,
ignore
no,
your
no,
week.
no, it's all right. It's
Usually
all
we
right.
get into that at the end, so I was
No,
just
I
thinking
know.
we'll do fights and then get into
Yeah,
into both of our weeks.
yeah,
Not,
yeah, yeah.
it
That's
doesn't
true,
matter
actually.
about you.
Yeah, we're going the other way around today. Um,
But sorry,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
no.
it's been
How's
an
your week,
interesting
mate?
one because
You've spent it
I was
making
like,
a pork belly, apparently.
yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Like, authentic ramen because I told you I did that cooking thing, and I was
The
like,
4 week
we're doing it
process of
today.
the ramen.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, but it'll be good. But in terms of like working wise, I spent a lot of time. It's a bad like not habit, just I keep falling into the same mistake of saying, oh, okay, last bit of the video to do for the Friday because I put my videos out on Friday and I'm like, okay, not that much left to do, and I always underestimate how much there is to do because you've got to do color grade, you got to add the little music, just little things that you've missing out along with filling in the rest of the footage that
Sound
you
effect.
haven't added in yet. So yeah, it's just little things and it adds up, and then all the rendering, and I was like, suddenly you're sitting there for what you thought would be an hour and a half job is taking double. So it's just like it's frustrating, but we got the video
Just
over
to
the line
jump
on
in
Friday.
quickly
Really
on
proud of
that.
it.
Just
Yeah,
to jump
yeah,
in
go.
quickly on that, for anyone that's listening, you talk about that process there. I just want to get into that a little bit more because that's something that I think sometimes is overlooked in the production of videos and something I've learned more recently and something obviously that you do. Talk a little bit about the sounds of videos because that's what I've noticed and what a lot of people subconsciously don't realize is the biggest thing of what's keeping them engaged. Is that a really lengthy
It puts
process for you?
everything together 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I spent so much time trying to pick the right sound. I actually found a really cool sound pack full of proper. It's just all the things you need, like risers, sort of cinematic booms, stuff like that. You just blend together, and they're so easy to use because when you have a vision of what you're trying to make. Like for me, I've started doing a thing. I did it for my Ian Gary video, and I did it for my video on McGregor. I've got about 30 seconds to a minute intro thing where there's none of it's me talking. It's all clips, but like put together cinematically, and I got the music kicking in. It's an instant, like I don't know what to say. It's an instant. You want an instant response from the viewer to keep them there, so it grabs
Dopamine.
attention straight away. Yeah, that's it. Dopamine hit, and you got these
Boom.
low booms, rises, everything blending together, along with some cinematic music underneath, and you just blend it all together. And I really had to rush through it for my McGregor one the other day because I was behind. Um, so I didn't. It's a little bit unpolished, and there's some little things looking back that I'm not happy with, just with some timing of some of the sound and maybe a little bit of the mixing. But apart from that, I'm really happy with it, and it's something I've started to explore recently. But you're right, sound is such an important thing, and luckily for most of my video, outside of that intro bit, I don't have to worry too much about it in terms of because most of the video is me talking. I let that do the heavy lifting, so I just have I just alternate between tracks on for the rest of it, just music tracks to keep the video flowing nicely. But also it depends if I do a bit where I've overlaying the commentary on a bit of fight footage. So I'm overlaying the commentary MP3 clips from that, blending that all together. I need to add sound effects for that with this like cinematic to keep it flowing. Because if you just have the commentary talking, nothing else, viewers clicking off straight away. You need that you need to blend it with the music to keep it flowing. So that's a challenge. But it's something I'm getting better at and better at every time I do it. Which, as you say, I know you always say about doing reps, so that's it's how it is. I'm just slowly improving on that, and I'm really
Nice.
happy with how the video done. And it's doing, yeah, yeah, and it's doing the Conor McGregor video is doing okay. It's on like 5K views in a day and a half. But the Ian Gary one, is started to really pick up now because it started off flatlined after a day or two at like 3.5K, and I was like, that's a bit annoying because I thought it was a good video and the click through rate was good, the view duration was good. I was like, this has to catch fire at some point. And then sure enough, 2 days later it did, and now it's slowing down again, but it's on 30K views, so I'm very happy with that. Nice little because it's nice to have your work appreciated. I know everyone says don't worry about views too much, but it does matter, and anyone who says it doesn't is to me is just lying because
Well, it does technically matter, I guess, because
it
that
does
is what
technically matter.
AdSense is. That is,
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
from a
Like
sort of
that's how
more
I earn my money.
romantic perspective, it should
Yeah, of
be
course.
don't pursue it for views. I think that's the idea. It's a very murky
Even then,
discussion.
I sort of disagree with that as well.
It's
Yeah,
a very murky
it's a
discussion.
balance. It's a balance. There's no right
Well,
or wrong answer
I
to it.
guess Mr. Well, yeah, that's a whole topic of discussion for another day. So so it's been a fairly full-on week, and I guess for you as well. Now
Yeah,
you're sort of
not too
building up
bad.
to the you're
I
you're
have
building
to
up
hold
to the
myself
end of
accountable
year
though.
review.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so I have to hold myself accountable because I didn't stream yesterday, and I should have done, and I would have done if it wasn't for the fight night because I didn't want it to be a watch along, and then my brain just made excuses for it. I should have just streamed anyway. I was meant to, and I didn't. So I'm gonna stream today, make up for it, and we just keep on schedule. So I need to make sure I get back on that. And also, yeah, planning ahead for the next few videos. I don't know how, 'cause I'm doing an end of year sort of MMA awards video, as I said, talking to you. That's going to be a big undertaking, probably a 20-minute video, I reckon, something like that. So it's going to be quite maybe longer. So I don't know for sure. I haven't started writing it or anything. But that's something to plan ahead while I'm working on other stuff, which is going to be an interesting sort of. That's a new foray for me. Having something on the back burner to chug along with whilst keeping my priorities on weekly
Chipping away,
videos.
yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So that's something to explore. Something we'll we live and we learn. Something we just gonna get into. But let's just talk about the fight night from last night because
It was a good one.
I did again. You caught me off guard. You messaged me and said it was early, and I had no idea. Shows you how much of a casual I am.
I'm glad that I messaged you.
No
that
idea it was
because
on early.
I
I'm
did
glad you
think
told
that
me. Yeah, I would have had no clue.
I would. To be honest, is the truth of it is
Normally
when
I'm quite good at that, not forgetting that
auto-programmed-
sort of thing.
Yeah, but when you're auto-programmed into
1
11
a.m.
p.m.
to
every
6 a.m.
night,
Well,
you
yeah,
know your
earlier
body
than
just
that.
sort of says, right, Saturday fight night, Brendan Allen, Paul Craig. It says 10, 11 p.m. in your head start time. It's easy mistake to make. So yeah, chuck you in a bone there. 7 p.m. start time.
Yeah,
so
I
a nice
appreciate
early
that.
finish. What stood out for you on the card?
I was really impressed with Michael Morales. He is a force.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I mean, undefeated. He shows it. You good? Yeah, yeah. Very impressive. Against a guy like Jake Matthews, who I spoke to before.
Do you think I
What?
just bug out? Did you? What do you think
Yeah, I
happened
don't know.
to
Yeah,
me?
it was weird there. I didn't think what you said. I don't know. You didn't say anything, and I just thought you just froze up or something.
No, I was gonna say yeah.
anyway.
I've been saying that about Michael Morales, but
You
go
agree?
on as you were saying.
Yeah. No, I remember how high you were on him, and I said to you a while back when we were talking about Jake Matthews. It was after he I think is that 2 straight losses for him now. I believe he lost. Who did he lose to before? I should know that because he beat Fiala, but then he had a bad little run. Oh no, he
Yeah,
won his previous fight. But it was he lost to Semmelsberger before that. Yeah.
tough
One of those
fight.
guys I always
Tough
said
fight.
just looks really good. He was competitive. It was a competitive fight. He was landing some
Yeah,
good shots. It's
tough
a strange one with Jake Matthews because he just can't seem like he can string it together, and I don't really know why. I'm obviously not qualified. Neither of us are qualified enough to really give a proper analysis on that because he looked quite good in there, but Morales just looked better. He's just so evasive and so hard to hit and too diverse with his striking. So that jab was beautiful. Use of his range, that freakishly long, reach he has, using that to full effect. So I was very impressed. I can't lie.
That's the thing with Michael Morales. I was actually gonna tweet it before he walked out, but didn't for whatever reason. I've been getting better at doing that when I'm saying, "Oh, I can't bother," just doing the can't be bothered. But
Yeah.
that's one that has now
Yeah.
accidentally slipped out. So
I don't
anyway,
blame you. Tweeting is a thing.
I've been doing it much more and actually converting them. So crazily enough, you can the irony of content is I can make a tweet on Twitter or X, sorry, a thought with a photo, no traction. Honestly, about 43 people see it, and then I convert it into an Instagram with a couple of photos and with
there's
a
the money.
caption with a few things. Boom, 5,000 likes. That's something as well for anyone listening that wants to make content. I know we're talking a lot today about more content, but I guess that's what the podcast is for. It's all about understanding the different platforms and what they want. So, for example, the reason I tweeted that on X is not because I thought it was actually going to do better there, because I knew it would work better for Instagram, but it's understanding what the audience and how they want to obtain information on that platform. So the reason why that works on Instagram is because sometimes people just want bite-sized little bit of a photo, a little bit of a visual, and a little bit of a thought, and very easily digestible sometimes. If you are to use photos, other than that, you're going to be reels more times than not, just because that's how the platform's used now. So it's just about understanding that. However, going back to Michael Morales, that was a whole side tangent, but it is the Creators Podcast at
We
the
love
end of
side
the day.
tangents, mate.
So it's important to know sometimes, because people don't know where to start with these things, and I know that you'll be getting more messages, and I definitely get more messages in my inboxes now of, I want to start this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. Sometimes people that have been following you for a little bit, or sometimes just new people that see your channels and whatnot. And if you're posting, if you've got 2,000 posts and you've got X amount of subscribers and X amount of videos, people see that you've been doing it consistently now. And so more people do ask questions. Michael Morales, yeah, great grappler is first and foremost, but it's more so his composure is what I was going to say, going back to the
So
Twitter
calm
thing
in there.
originally. That's the most impressive thing, is always his composure. And then when you have a look at his skill set of his boxing, I believe I can't remember if it's Olympic boxing or Olympic grappling his mum comes from, and he's the caliber of as well. But he's just so talented. And then you add in the explosiveness, you add in the well-roundedness in regards to his conditioning and his balance and just the intangibles, and then you add in a ridiculous limb length for his arms where it can touch you from the other side of the octagon, and it's just very problematic for a lot of people. And the question for him now is, you just want to see him go up against guys that are just very good, that are going to be able to back him up, put him on his heels, and put him in uncomfortable positions, because we've not necessarily seen him there. Even yesterday, he wasn't breathing out his mouth, and he was just winning that fight really off a jab, to be honest, not much more. So sky's the limit for Michael Morales. Yeah, for
Very impressive.
for the other fella, yeah, he just can't. He can't.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I love watching Jake Matthews fight, because I think if his
Mm.
boxing is very clean, he's very technically sound. It's just, I don't know what it is about him that he can't crack that sort of upper
But
echelons of
it's a
the
hard,
game. Do you know what I mean?
stylistic matchup. You have to think. He had to get
It
in a
is true, yeah.
9-inch deficit in the boxing, and that's his go-to. He
And
works
he
his
landed.
game off the
He had
jab.
some good success in there.
You know, he goes
Yeah.
off the jab. The thing is, I don't know. Like, maybe this is wrong. It didn't look like, or maybe he felt something early in regards to the power, where it didn't look like he was comfortable just to go into that fire
Get
a
in there.
little bit more. Because when he was going into the pocket and going body head, he was landing, and that's when his hooks were going.
Yeah.
And that's
He
how we
was.
saw him finish Andre Fialho. But I think he felt something early, or possibly just the threat, because he's so dangerous and athletic, flying knees, all sorts of attacks. He didn't want to hang around, because it's easier said than done, of course, but he didn't. If he stayed in that fire a little bit longer, he did touch him a few times on the chin, but it was just kind of his youthfulness and his athleticism that just sort of ate that. And
I
he's in
think
such good
Morales, he did a very good. I mean, those shot. There were some big shots by Jake, and those. I love the way Morales sort of was able to roll with them.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
that
yeah,
was some
yeah.
of his best work defensively, was not with his hands. It was just being able to roll backwards with those shots, and none of them couldn't. I mean, Jake just couldn't land any of them like proper, on. It was
But
just good head movement from
he
Morales.
wasn't the way you mitigate that is by extending the combination, and he didn't. That's what I was
Yeah, it
saying.
was
He
one or two
didn't.
shots at most, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way you get to someone that's maybe rolling their shoulders back and leaning back in their defensive posture. People that have very long reach get very comfortable doing that, because they're usually taller than the guys, and they can get away with those habits. That works until someone doubles up the jab and then throws 3-4 punch combinations, because then you extend it and then you can always get to the person. Whereas Jake was only going 1 and 2. Like I said, easier said than done. But you come up against someone that's going to be a little bit more aggressive. I think maybe someone even randomly off the top of my head in that welterweight division of Vicente Luque, who would probably extend the combination, then I think it's going to be a little bit more
Yeah,
dangerous.
very
I
good.
would like to see that. But anyway.
Yeah, someone I was very impressed with, and I'm glad to see get back in the win column. After a weird sort of quite disappointing, beginning to his UFC career. He had so much hype back in Cage Warriors, knocking everybody out cold. He was undefeated, and I was fortunate enough to watch his debut at UFC 286. Christian Leroy Duncan is, of course, who I'm referring to, and in that fight at 286, you know, he started off, you know, okay, nothing special, and the other guy blew his knee out, I believe, or something like that. So we didn't really get to see how good he was. And then he fought Petrosian, which is quite a big step up in competition in
That's
your
a
second
tough
UFC
fight.
fight.
Tough
And he
fight.
lost. Yes, yeah, tough fight, and he lost unanimously. And I think there was a lot of hype around him, and I think that's dissipated now. But they've obviously given him a bit of a layup in a short notice replacement for opponent for him in Dennis Tiuliulin, who's, you know, I don't know much about, but his record, you know, 10-8, now 10-9, didn't fill me with confidence for
He's a
him.
middleweight walking punch bag.
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah.
of
And
the
to be fair, punch
win
bag is probably the
some,
best way I put it, because he's got a chin
you
on
know.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And he took a lot of heavy shots in there. And I was impressed with Duncan in terms of his striking versatility, and those elbows I absolutely adore. There's something about just those brutal elbows, and to finish it with a double elbow combination, you know, just to sit him down was beautiful. But the one thing I think if I had to criticize is just a bit of a lack of um you know how sharks smell blood, right? And they go for it. I don't really think he has that. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like he had him rocked a couple times in that second round and late in the first,
Devil's
and I
advocate.
feel like he should have got a finish there. Devil's
Devil's
advocate,
advocate.
go.
I would say, because I thought that for a split second, and then the second thought I had to that was, you know what? This is probably quite smart from CLD, because Dennis Chilulan has proven so many times. Yes, he's lost a lot of fights, but he's won a lot. And he's also always proven to be very, very tough. So I think that was sort of a case of, you know what? This guy may not get out of there. I'm not going to blow my load. I'm still just going to stay defensively sound and get my offense going. And then he did get that finish when he had the opportunity. I think
That's
it
true.
didn't actually present itself entirely until it came about, because there were opportunities where maybe he could have doubled down. But Dennis is so tough that in rounds 1 and 2, he's likely more times than not going to be able to weather that storm. So I think he actually picked I think he picked a good opportunity.
It was still an impressive performance. I am nitpicking.
Yeah.
I have to say. I mean, some of the best,
because he's tough,
you know, striking diversity. Yeah, it's true. But some of the best striking diversity you're going to see in not just that division, but, you know, in the roster. You know, he's throwing those teat kicks, you know, front kicks up the middle, these spinning sort of roundhouses. You know, I'm not going to, you know, name some that I don't even know the names of, because there's some crazy stuff in there. But again, people who use all the tools at their disposal, I think, are the guys that deserve the praise, and I think have the ability to go far. And I think, and hopefully that win will just set him off nicely, because I think even he knows that first win at 286 is an asterisk by it, really. I wouldn't really count that if I was him. So to actually get a proper
paid twice. And I'm in the win column.
Yeah,
and
no,
everyone
that's true,
will
actually.
forget
Yeah,
about that
very
fight.
true.
100%.
I mean, yeah,
when it goes on
a
leaderboards and it
personal
says
level, though.
3, 4, 5 fight win streak, people don't go, oh,
Yeah, fair
actually,
enough.
people just forget about it. I forgot he lost his last fight,
right?
to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, to him, though, do you know what I mean?
He lost. I was like, oh, I completely
Yeah,
forgot
that's true. That's true.
I actually
But
did.
on like a personal level, I don't think he doesn't feel fulfilled from that, you know?
No, of course not. He would have wanted to go out and get a stoppage win. Yeah, 100%.
And now to get that, hopefully that really puts him on the right track. And I think he can gather some momentum here. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what he does next, because I almost forgot about him for a little while. So it's good to see him back in
I
not
saw
just
CLD
fighting again,
and
but in the
Mick
win column.
Parkin on the card, and I thought, oh, we got 2 English boys on the card today. That's kind of cool.
You couldn't
On just a
really,
random fight night. What are you going to say?
And speaking of that, I was going to get into that, because I couldn't pick 2 more sort of opposite performances, despite them both getting a win. Because I have to say, I watched that with I was trying to get my dad into the sport, because obviously it was at normal time.
Don't watch.
And I was like, oh yeah, this English guy could be decent. I was like, this is either going to be one of the classic fight night heavyweight matchup between 2 big fellas, which is absolute, you know, dumpster fire, or it'll be a knockout in the first round. That's all you're going to get with one of them. And it was the first option, because I have to say that is honestly one of the worst fights I've ever watched. Call me crazy. It was shite from both of them. I'm going to be honest, it was dire.
First of
It
all,
was dire.
Dominic Cruz was so
I don't care if
upset on the commentary.
I know, I saw.
No,
I don't care if I'm being a couch analyst. It was shite.
No.
It was bad.
I need to say this, because I thought this the entire time. I've seen Mick Parkin fight before.
He's fought so much better than that.
I've watched his previous 2 fights, and he has never been as slow as he was in the first. So
I know.
there is
Ah,
something that went on with that performance, whether it was he peaked at the wrong time, he overtrained, he was ill prepared, he wasn't feeling it, it wasn't his night. Whatever one of the million possibilities it was, that wasn't the full him. He looked laboured, he looked tired, and his
they both
arms
did.
looked like noodles from the first round. And that isn't him. I've
Genuinely
seen him
fighting
with
in
some.
slow motion. Genuinely. I've
I
never
was
seen
so
slower punches. Is that wrong? I don't think I've seen
no,
slower punches
no,
ever
I haven't.
in
I
since watching the
haven't.
sport. I'm
I
not even
haven't.
joking.
I was in the
That's-
third round. I was in
oh
the
my
third
word.
round. I was in the third round, and I'll be 100% honest because I have to be. I'm in the third round, and I thought, if he ever, ever turn up to a sparring session and Tom Aspinall was in the room and he
I was
performed
thinking
like
that.
that, he would be getting hurt.
They're like, oh yeah,
Hurt.
he trains with Tom Aspinall. I was like, does he? Because he
No,
doesn't look like he does.
but his boxing's good. He's
I know. That's what I'm saying. I've
his
seen him
boxing's
fight so
good.
much better.
He doesn't. He doesn't load up. He doesn't have much fat on his shots. He's got quite nice fundamentals in regards to just ones and twos and hooks, and he's quite tight with his boxing, and he's very conservative with his energy, and he's in good shape. There was something that just went on. I genuinely think it was maybe something like jet lag. If he came out and
Who
you heard
knows,
on an
man?
interview that he just had a bit of a sleeping issue, that would add up. That wasn't him. But I will say, that was probably one of his worst performances. But he won in the UFC. And as I said to you before, when you see the win streaks, when you see the unbeaten runs, when you see all
Yeah.
of that, people forget wasn't a great fight against Luana Pacheda, you know? It'll just be forgotten. So that's a double win, that's a double paycheck, and it's a W at the end of the day. So you go
Yeah.
away
It's true.
and you get all the lessons of a loss, but with a W. So
Yeah.
win.
I mean, I think there's a couple more on there. That Peyton Talbot against Nick Aguirre, who I didn't know much about at all, but
Annoyingly
I saw he was a
cool.
big favourite.
Just
Yeah, he is.
just
It's
you look at him
admitted
like,
to annoyingly cool. You're like, why? What you
you're
got
one of
everything?
them, aren't you? One of
Yeah,
those Californian beach
yeah,
sort of boy. He's just that guy. You're like, you're annoyingly cool.
and he
I
could beat
bet
you
you're
up
good
as
on a
well.
surfboard. I bet you're sick
Yeah.
on every variety of sport. He was just that kid in school that you just looked at and was annoyed at through nothing but jealousy. Nothing but
Yep,
just
agreed.
pure envy and jealousy.
And he looked very good. He did. I have to
Well, I
say,
don't know about very good. He got 10-8
a little bit.
in the
Maybe
first
he
round.
could have got. Yeah, no, after the first round, I meant. Sorry, yeah,
But then,
yeah, first
I
round,
think
yeah.
I need to get
Yeah.
something negative
Yeah,
on
apologies for that.
record. You know, that was a
Yeah, of
terrible
course.
first round. He went
Yeah,
out
it's
there on
very-
UFC
yeah.
debut and didn't perform under the lights straight away. But yeah, no,
But
it
I
was a
think
good
there's some
finish.
merit in that, in being able to,
Yeah,
on
for
your
sure.
debut, being able to come back from getting dominated in a first round. That could knock someone's confidence. I know if I was in there, that would fuck me up. You know, if I got 10-8 in the first round, I'd be like, shit, this is a step up. I don't know if I could hack it and come back, even if I had the ability to do so. And he had the ability on the physical and the mental front to come back. And I was very impressed in that third round as well, being able to get that finish early on, because the second round, some of the grappling there was really nice. Good exchanges from both guys, actually. And to get that was a rear naked choke, wasn't it? Off the top of my head in the early in the third round. Was really nice. And another bit of grappling,
I
which I
wanted to
thought
touch
was
his
beautiful,
hair.
was I could, me too. I can go with that.
just
I
looks
tell you
soft.
hair I didn't want to touch though, Jordan Levitt's, because my word, that mohawk it's got to go,
reverse
Jordan. I'm sorry,
Brazilian.
man, but
No, the Brazilian.
not
That was
but he's channeling
the
his inner
Chuck
Vitor
Liddell.
Belfort a little bit, and Chuck Liddell,
Vitor.
yeah.
I think Chuck was a little bit slimmer.
Yeah,
I think Vitor, you're right, had the had the sort of, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I loved that fight, as short as it was, though. The co-main event, Chase.
Yeah,
Oh no, it was sorry, not co-main event.
It was
The
fun.
beautiful grappling, just
Yeah.
back and forth. Honestly, that is exciting jiu-jitsu to watch. That's what I love to see. Just so much, just transitional work. It was beautiful. Less striking. They were just going for it. And it ended up being Chase who got the better of it at the end. And those guys are both legit grapplers. As good as it comes. We've seen how good both of they are in their previous fights. I was kind of, I didn't really want either of them to lose, because they're both sort of nice guys in the game. But yeah, it was really entertaining as short as that fight was. There's not too much to say. Besides Chase Hooper looking a lot better, I have to say. You know,
I,
coming into the UFC at a young age is always such a difficult thing. So he's really getting into his stride a little bit, I think.
I thought about it yesterday. I actually thought about going into the gym and meeting someone on the mat, like meeting one of the boys at training that is 19, and then imagining that person in the featherweight or lightweight
It's
division
crazy, isn't it?
of the UFC. So we're talking about
Or even do it
men,
with yourself. Just think.
men.
Let's say even you were
No,
training. Yeah,
no, but
he's fighting
it's harder for
big
me because I
boys.
just can't even remember thinking about it. 19. I don't even. It's just I've always been
I mean,
me. I've
isn't
always
that
felt
kind of
like
the point
me.
though? That's what I'm
It's hard
saying.
to
It
think of an
feels
age.
like
No, but when I look at someone, I go into the gym and I can look at someone, so I can see someone else objectively, and I just think about
no.
them just getting beaten up in front of the world by the hardest people in the world at 19 is so crazy. So I give so much leeway to people like that. But anyway, he's gone up to lightweight. And he's so interesting, Jay Super, because he has improved his striking. Whilst it's still not incredible, he just has this ace trump that if he closes the distance, which he often can, because he just has weird limbs and weird attacks, that he sort of throws a lot of things out there, big attacks, you have to respect it to some degree. And he just gets to a clinch position. And once he does, he just has jiu-jitsu like no one has jiu-jitsu, because no one has that prototype of body. So the
It's
reach
weird, isn't it?
around, the weird scrambles, the leg attack, the attacks that he goes for are just so unorthodox, and something that you probably would have never, you would have never have felt before in a live fight. Potentially someone grapples like that a little bit, potentially someone's like that you train with, but never in a real fight have you ever grappled with someone like Chase Hooper. So he always finds such interesting positions, and those scrambles were fun. I love watching Chase. I'm always a fan. I'm always
Yeah,
tuning in
man.
for Chase Hooper for sure.
I mean, and I love watching grappling. I've said to you before, I'm not huge on watching, just generally speaking, competitive grappling, just as an isolated sport rather than. But that was really a case of that, because there was hardly a strike thrown really in that whole sort of long grappling
It's
exchange that it
fun.
was, and it
Yeah,
was beautiful. So maybe I have
fun.
to hold my hands up and admit defeat on that, because I'm not gonna lie, I was very entertained.
Don't get me
And
wrong.
especially as sorry.
Sorry, all I was going to say is, don't get me wrong, that's not always the case. Depending on what shows and whatnot you watch, there's a lot of different rules. So they base
That is true.
different organizations have different sort of excitement levels, because some people base it on just submission offense. Who wins is who's the most offensively submissive.
I mean, I
The most
watched Mike Grundy versus Aljamain Sterling, and I just wish I
crap.
got my time back.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the
And I
worst things I've
love
ever
watching
seen.
Aljo grapple, but what happens when you get
Exactly,
two
yeah.
wrestlers is they just then go into wrestling mode, and that was always going to happen, because Mike Grundy
Yeah.
is wrestling through and through, and Aljo, whilst he is a jits guy, he's wrestling
It's wrestling first, yeah.
deep down, right? So that was always going to happen, and it's annoying, because I would love, give me Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling.
Speaking my language, man.
I need.
That's a great
it.
fight.
I tweeted that this week.
I think that might happen. I really do. I think the stars might align for that. We'll see. I have to see what the move Sterling makes. But let's just quickly go into the main event, because it's obviously the last one we really need to touch on. Brendan Allen, Paul Craig. I liked Paul Craig's odds going into this fight. You know, he always is the dog, really, in most of his bouts. I thought it's a bit of the odds were quite wide on him. I mean, for his how good he is at pulling the rabbit out of the hat, I thought maybe he's got a crack at it, right?
But that's a hard thing
and
to
obviously we
bet
know.
on.
Of course, true. I only made a little money. I made a little bit of money that night on a couple of the fights, but Brendan Allen, you know, he has the momentum, right? He's in his just about entering his prime now at middleweight. Paul Craig sort of and exiting that prime. So there's really the trajectories are both opposite, you know, really, if you look at it on paper. But again, it's MMA, so you don't really know how things are going to go. I mean, this guy's Samir Ankalaev and Jamal Hill, so you don't really know what you're going to get with Paul, and you
The
really
Michael
don't.
Johnson.
Yeah, Michael Johnson of the middleweight division.
He
But
really
yeah, I
is.
thought maybe
Really is.
he is, isn't he?
He
Uh,
really is.
But I was very impressed by Brendan Allen. I have to say I'm not a fan of him now. I'm going to delve into this because fuck it. I don't know if you saw that he said something came up about him
Tweets.
hitting his kids or something,
Yeah.
right? Something about him beating his kids. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. People were saying he did. Some people say
He's
he
from the
didn't. If he
deep
did, that's
south.
obviously fucked, isn't it?
He's
That's not an excuse, bro.
no,
That is not. You can't say that like as if it's an. I know you're not, but it sounds like you're saying it as if like, oh, he's from the deep south. It's like they just do
it's
that,
just
which they do. To be fair,
understanding different
no, I know. I'm
understanding
joking.
different cultures, you know? Some places, it was like when Kurt Zuma booted the cat.
Yeah,
It
that
was.
is
It was
fucked,
like
isn't
when
it?
Kurt Zuma booted the cat. And it was similar to
Footballer for the uninitiated.
when I
Footballer
was
who
in
booted his cat.
when I was in Fiji, right? The kids would kick pigs. Now, if
Right.
you were in England and you were kicking a pig, that would be sacrilege. It would be like
Yeah.
it would be the worst thing
When are you
ever,
ever gonna kick
whatnot.
a pig though?
And the girl and the if you were given the chance. And the
Yeah,
girl
yeah,
that one of the girls that we were with, because to be honest, if you were ever going to want to kick a farmyard animal, they are the most primed for kicking. They are low
Quite durable,
level,
to be fair.
they are plump, and they are
Yeah.
round.
Yeah. They could probably take a good shot as well. Do you know what I mean? I reckon they'd be all
Because
right.
the rest of them, the thing is, I don't know about you. This is a random side tangent. It's not.
How are we gone from
Not
Paul Craig
it's
to
not
kicking
like
pigs, man?
scared in them, but farmyard animals, they put me on edge. I'll be honest, they put me on edge. Horses put me on edge.
Cows,
Cows,
man. Cows. I
mate,
hate cows, bro.
anything that weighs the best part of 700 kilos puts me on edge. And I think if it doesn't, that's you not understanding the laws of the world, because those things are heavy, heavy.
Mate,
And
cows
imagine
fuck
it
me
just
up, man.
falls on you weird and just sort of snaps your leg or I don't know. But side tangent, yeah,
About the
side
most
tangent.
side tangent you're ever gonna
It's just
side
different.
tangent.
It's and the girl I was with, one of the girls I was
Different
with, she
cultures,
actually
yeah.
runs a farm in the thing, and she was like going crazy and whatnot. And although I didn't condone it, I was just saying it's their perception of that wild pig is
Yeah, it's
just
different.
different.
It's different.
It's where in the UK we put these animals a bit more on a pedestal, different culture. So I think deep south they probably do beat their
It is weird
kids.
though.
Yeah, not
It is a
something
bit
I would
fucked.
probably do personally. And not something I
Yeah,
would
no,
condone.
thankfully.
And in the UK, I think it's sort of, I don't know, it's still a bit of a weird topic. Personally, I don't know. Yeah, a bit of a
I mean, his
random one. Probably
performance,
move on.
though, on the other hand, was very impressive. I got to say, being able
Yeah,
to not only getting a finish, but submitting Paul Craig as an achievement in itself. Um, and I like that he was willing to go into the fire there. You know, a lot of guys aren't willing
how
to
have we
even.
gone into how have we gone
Yeah,
into that?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. From farmyard pigs to back and back, you know. But yeah, I was very impressed by the fact he was able to go into the fire, you know. And a lot of guys aren't willing to trade with Paul Craig on the mat. It's like, right, stand up, because I will say Paul Craig stand up. He leaves himself vulnerable. You know, his chin is open quite a lot. A lot of
The
guys,
most.
that's where they're willing to exploit. Yeah, but Brendan Allen was like, I'll beat you anywhere. He was going to prove how good he was, and he did it across every facet, on the feet and on the mat. You know, he dropped him or buzzed him a couple times for sure. And it ended up rounding off with a submission. And there was that moment where he was attacking that rear naked choke, and then Paul went for a calf slicer, which is the most
Yeah,
Paul Craig thing to ever
yeah.
pull Craig. But Brendan Allen, you know, he was like, okay, I'll match you. And it starts looking for, you know, heel hooks. I believe it was a heel hook. There was a lot of just leg attacks from both guys, and I was loving
Yeah,
it.
that was
You
fun.
know, yeah, and being able to get out of that, give Paul Craig an inch and he'll go a mile, you know, in those positions. And he was still able to counter that, and get back to the feet as well, and then finish him, you know, pretty much everywhere. Really, he was dominant. And I guess now it begs the question of what's next for both guys, because there was a lot of talk for the last few years of Paul Craig being in
Marvin
title
Vettori,
conversations. Marvin Vettori, what for? And Allen
Brendan
or Craig?
Allen, Marvin
Yeah, I
Vettori.
like that for Allen for sure. That's a good sort of top 10 fight. You know, really gives him a bit more credibility.
No,
For Craig, I think it's one of those.
that goes on to number one contendership. That goes on to say,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
cool,
you're
you
getting
can
up to
fight for
top
a title
five.
sort of
Yeah,
thing, you know.
one or two more fights for him, I think, and he's in that. He'll be fighting for a title. But for Craig, as I said to you, his trajectory is really on the way down. If we look at history, you know, in the fight game of how it tends to go for guys his age, He's on a downwards trajectory, and it's a matter of where do you take him? Because as I said, there was a lot of talk about him fighting for a title, only a couple of years ago.
Mm.
Oh, maybe 1 or 2 wins away from a title shot, gaining some nice momentum. But now it feels like he's a little bit. I feel like
Dennis
that's outside
Chilulan.
for him.
No, that's
Chilulan, I'm not familiar.
CLD.
I've probably seen
Just
him fight.
pieced him.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said with a CH, and I was like, as in Chilulan. I was like, who?
No,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's a fair
Dennis.
fight, I guess. Yeah, why not?
Give him.
Yeah, yeah, give it Dennis. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Oh, give him
how do you
Dennis.
see that though? Do you see him getting? I don't see him anywhere near a title now. Do you know?
Give
I
him
think it's
Dennis.
one of them where
A title?
no, because I'm only saying that because you look a couple years ago, people were talking about that.
No,
You know,
no, no,
a
no, no,
couple
no,
years ago, people were saying, okay, give him
no,
1 or 2 more fights, and he's in that
no,
conversation. Um, he's not
no,
near that now. I think it's fair to
no,
say.
no. Now it's fun matchups. Now it's can we get him a win? Now it's
Getting paid.
can we get him paid? Can we get him in Scotland? Can we get him on fun cards, fun jiu-jitsu matchup? That's where
Because
we
he's
go
always
here.
fun to watch, win or lose. It's always something.
That's the thing. That's the thing with Paul Craig is, see, people can say all the negative stuff they like, but there's a lot of people that go out there that aren't willing to put themselves in bad spots to win. You see people that go out there that win, and sometimes not that exciting, and for the average fan tuning in and paying money, and they don't put themselves in the fire at any point. But at least Paul Craig goes out there and he puts it on the line, and he always looks to win. And that's why it's quite
very
exciting
true.
to watch him fight, because he always looks to win. When you're watching Paul Craig, no matter what's happening, even if he's getting his face bounced off the canvas, getting knocked unconscious several times, he's going to look to win. And because he's so opportunistic, and because he's got social proof, and because he's got a track record, you always go, well, he's probably going to get beaten up, but he could.
That's
And
what I was waiting
calf
for. Yeah.
slicer on another day,
Nice.
he pulls that off, and that's crazy.
That's
That
Craig in a
50-50
nutshell,
leg
isn't it? Yeah.
entanglement, those very easily
I
can
hate
go
those
the wrong
moments,
way.
man. Because
Yeah, they
every time
very easily go the wrong way.
when
So
I was
shout out
training,
Paul Craig.
more regularly, every time you get into those leg 50-50s, I fucking hate it. I just don't want to be there because I just waiting for the pain to come on
Yeah.
my ankle versus theirs. I'm just like, I'm out of
Oh,
here. So I usually try and exit those 50-50s. I don't like trying to getting into them. Like sometimes it just circumstance brings you there in a scramble, and you're like, shit. Well, we may as well try and rip an ankle lock here or something. But generally speaking, I just want to get out, get that leg pass, and just get straight back into guard or something. Just from personal experience. But again, as I said, being able to go into that fire, with a guy like Craig is a really impressive. It warrants praise for Brendan. So excited to see where he goes next. Inside the cage. So as you said, Vittori's a good matchup. Whether it's the funnest to watch, I don't know, but who knows? Who knows
what are you
how
talking
he
about?
goes? I think I don't know. Vittori fights are never exactly the most.
Marvin Vittori's never had an interesting fight.
I wouldn't go and say his fights are the funnest.
Paulo
Personally,
Costa fight.
Paulo Costa was the one I was going to say was good, but come on, there's not.
Who
I
else?
wouldn't say there's.
Roman Dolidze.
Yeah, nah. I mean, I watched that live, and I don't think that was that good, to be honest. Like it was all right. Like it was nothing really
Fair
that
enough.
crazy.
You know what?
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. He's going to walk forwards. He's going to take a lot of punches hard, and he's going to
Give
dish out a lot of punches in a linear
yeah.
line. And he's sort of, that's fair enough. He's not the most exciting. Why is that though? Because
he's
he
not.
has all the ingredients. He has good kickboxing. He has good durability. He has a good chin.
He's a bit
he
more
has
of a
good
volume
cardio,
striker.
Has good wrestling.
He's very scrappy. That's
He's never had a
why I put
knockout,
it.
I don't think, in the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a power puncher. He doesn't get finishes very often.
Because he's a big boy.
I don't think
he's
he's
got
particularly
sharp
pleasing
boxing.
on the eye. I think, and I
physically?
don't mean that in the way he looks. I just mean the way he fights. Like
Physically, is that how we're going down?
Yeah, and
he's going
physically.
down like that now.
No. I mean, just like his fight style. Because you watch guys like Leon Edwards, they don't get finishes particularly often, but the way he fights is beautiful.
But physically, in quite good shape.
Makes it beautiful to watch.
Good physique.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I tell you who's got a good physique. Michael Morales. I thought this geezer's in shape.
Yeah, that's true.
He's in shape.
He is, man.
Just from a bodybuilding perspective. His symmetry is crazy. That's how they judge it in those competitions. He's just got crazy symmetry. But I even redecorated the studio. I said I'm going to get the camera sorted by next
It
week.
looks good, man, on the new
We're in
camera.
the camera. I've even got the mic for the first time. I've got the mic in 24 episodes. 24
We did
episodes
it.
it's taken
We
me to
did
get
it.
the mic, to get the camera. There
I'll
was
be
more
there
to
with you.
that
I'll
than
be there
meets
with
the
that
eye.
camera. What? Sorry, as I was going to say, I was going to ask you, what is the camera?
And to get the lightsaber up, annoyingly, that would have had to take a long time to charge. I couldn't get that actually going. But when that's going, that looks so cool.
It's looking cold.
I change color each time. I just see what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
I put the poster up. I've got my comics up now.
Comics.
Got the comics up.
I need to get my Fight Night poster up as well. I still
And
have
I've
that
got
here as
my
well in the corner. I have the very same one.
You can't see it, but I've got the sound panels up now as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm full basic bitch.
I need to get those too.
Recording studio vibes. Yeah.
What is the camera?
All the
What is the camera?
cliches. Sorry, yeah, I've ignored you 100 times for that. It's a Sony A6 300. So I believe you said you were looking at the ZV.
It was yeah.
Something like
that. It was like a ZV7. No, it wasn't the ZV. It was like an Alpha 7 II.
Okay.
It was A7 II. Okay. Yeah, Sony A7 II. I was looking at the V as well.
Okay.
But
I was only going to say that because I believe that they're quite popular just in the vlogging world and in the YouTube, in the streaming, in those sort of vibes.
What was the one you said?
Just incredible for that. So my one's the Sony A6 300. So there's an A6 range. So this is actually before So the ones at the moment which are very popular are the Sony A7. So it's like the A7
Sony
A7i, Sony A7 III, I think, 3i, and all these different varieties that are very good cameras. But the ones before it are the 6 series, is what I've got. So I've got a couple before. Still very good cameras. They record in 4K, so that's pretty good. You can record in slow. You can obviously record slower frame rates for slow motion. All decent. It's not necessarily the camera body, which is the big thing. It's the lenses. For someone like yourself, when you get it, you're only going to need a sort of. You'll still probably eventually want a nice lens, but just a fixed lens, super simple, because you're only using it for one thing. Whereas I need ones which just annoyingly are quite expensive now. So
I get you.
That's the thing that I'm looking to level up next, is on the sort of to-do list for my costs. I've got my mics. Got some good mics coming.
Almost there,
so
man.
that I have it with people, and then also get
I'm excited to get a new
lens.
camera because my lighting will actually look way better. Because on webcams, when you light, it just washes out your face completely and makes it all smooth and shit and not good. But it's still better than having no lighting. So no lighting is even worse. So
it's definitely better, but 100% when you get a camera. But I've said to you before, you can even just get a second-hand iPhone off of Marketplace for a few quid. It doesn't even have to be a full camera. It really doesn't. It can just be an iPhone that has 4K capabilities, which most of them do. And the second-hand one's next to nothing. You don't even need to operate it. It just needs to be charged. Just use it as a camera.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit more research and tinkering. But we're gonna have to wrap it up there because I've got some ramen to go and check up on, which is my time is going up in 3 minutes. I know, very exciting. So be MMA Creators Podcast, episode 25. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Yeah, we'll see you next Sunday every week.